months, there was an English Revolution. In 1642, the rising middle class made war on their king.
After this there will reign all the kings and queens again, but the power rests to see with us, the British bourgeoisie.
They smashed the feudal aristocracy, they cut off the king's head.
You great working class who made for us the national cake. We'll give them just enough to live, we'll make them buy the goods they make.
They owned the nation's wealth, and now they ruled it. End of revolution, perhaps.
We were returned to office to change the course of history of this nation, nothing less. We have seen, in the last few years, the growth of a cult of political violence, practiced not so much between states as within them.
In 1972, young people, denied the very right to work, marched the length of England in protest.
It's a somber thought, but it may be that in the 1970s, civil war, not war between states, will be the main danger we will face.
Glasgow, February the 5th, 1972. 53 young people, many of them out of work since leaving school, gather for a 5-week march to London that will climax in a political meeting and a pop concert.
I know just exactly where to be. You know what my freedom means to me, what it means to me, just exactly what my freedom means to me. Hey, 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 what you doing to me? Hey, 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 look what you done.
In Glasgow alone, over 55,000 people are out of work. Backed by the young socialists, these young people refuse to be passive victims of an economic policy. For the first day of the march out of Glasgow, they're accompanied by film director Ken Loach, actress Sandy Radcliffe, and actor Corin Redgrave.
My name's John Barry. I'm from the Glasgow Young Socialists. I'm marching because like thousands of other youth in this country have been thrown into the dole queues by this Tory government. And I'm marching to defeat this Tory government.
For my family, and they're all unemployed. And I have 4.
And?
They're all unemployed. And the benefits that she get, it's ridiculous to ask anyone to live in £360 a week, which most of you have to hand in for the housekeeping.
I mean, the youngsters around my area are unemployed. They end up kicking around the street corners because they've nothing else to do. Because they end up then running about in a sort of gang, you know, and then the police start getting at them. They're calling them vandals and all the rest of it, you know. I think a lot of the other ones around my area, the youngsters in my area, I think it's really the Tory government that's the vandals. Because it's the Tory government that's kicked them onto the dole queues. It's the Tory government that educated them to a standard, really, just for a dole queue, really. They don't even get a fair standard of education in the schools.
Got a trade?
No.
You always lived in Glasgow?
Yes.
What about your family? Tell us about them.
Just my father's working in the family. That's 1 out of 5.
Glasgow to London, 405 miles. Liverpool, the 19th of February, the second contingent gathers. In the Leeds-Liverpool area, there are 54,000 out of work.
I've been on the dole about 6 months now. Can't get a job anywhere. So come down here in March time.
We'll be walking all the way, you know, because it's a basic right, the right to work, and you know.
Do you think you'll affect the government?
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Tell me how.
It's cheating money.
Yeah. Tell me what
that's what the works for, the walks for. Well, on the toll you can't strike on the toll and everyone else is striking and getting it, aren't they?
Do you reckon anyone will watch your fight?
Yeah. You should do.
Why?
Why? Because there should be work for everybody, shouldn't there? Not for just 2 or 4 people. Many firms won't take you, will they? You need degrees and all things like that. I'm going to work on it, I'm going to do it, it's experience, innit? You're going to find out things, more things about life on the way, innit? So that's it, isn't it? It's the only thing you can do.
There's 3 marches from Swansea, Liverpool and Glasgow. The Glasgow march started February the 5th. It's been, you know, roughly for 2 weeks now on the march. You know, youth, mostly unemployed youth, marching down, you know, all the way. And the aim of it is to unite employed and unemployed youth in the struggle against the Tory government. You know, when we be going through the cities and the towns and places with high unemployment, which is, you know, hit all the country now, well, we'd be, you know, leaving, selling papers and, you know, canvassing leaflets and talking to people and leaving a basis if there's not a basis there already.
We'll build the young socialist movement on the way throughout all the towns, you know. Want a branch in every town, like, not just sort of satisfied with what we've got now. We're building a mass movement, revolutionary movement.
Can you tell me how you feel?
Well, made up that it's, you know, it's off now. Let's hope it's well, it will be a success all the way. No, well, we know that from the Glasgow march.
How did you feel that? Smashing
grace. You know, because you know we've done it. We're on our way now. We're going to achieve it, are we? Yeah. You know.
There's no one who can stop us. There's no one now who can. We've been stopped for 300 years by the strong ruling class has better watch it, cause it's our turn now at last. We demand the right to work, we demand it. We demand the right to work, we demand it. We demand the right to live, which this system cannot give. So let's smash the system now, take the power, we know how. Well, we work it anyhow, and we'll take it. We demand the right to work, we demand it. We demand the right to work, we demand it. We demand the right to live, which this system cannot give. So let's smash the system now, take the power, we know how. We work it anyhow, and we'll
Kirkby, shelter and hot food at the Labour Club. From the start, there is much sympathy and practical help, often unofficial. While the marchers eat, the Labour councillors keep well clear, in the plush bar at the back, some say.
Chip, Your Majesty.
What is chip?
New kind of vegetable, very popular with the natives.
Any money in it, do you think?
Yes, ma'am. We'll feed our neighbors cheaply.
Arise, Sir Walter.
Glasgow to Kilmarnock, Kilmarnock to Cummack and Sanquhar, Sanquhar to Thornhill, then through Dumfries and Annan on the long road to Carlisle and the border.
that badge back, son.
I've got a bloody itchy foot.
Swansea, February the 19th. Simultaneously with the Liverpool contingent, marchers set off from the University of Wales, accompanied on the first day by playwright Arnold Wesker and film director Roy Battersby. In Swansea alone, there are 9,200 unemployed.
My father's working on the British Railways. He's a driver. He's one of the lucky ones from the Rhondda Valley because I reckon at least a quarter of the people in the Rhondda Valley are unemployed.
I see. Have you got many friends who are unemployed?
Yes. The majority of my friends are unemployed there. It's really slack in the Rhondda Valley now.
The way I look at it is going back to the 1930s, the way these people are being made redundant and unemployed. I don't agree with the Tory government's policies. That's why I'm determined to stay on this march and force the Tories out of power.
So I can remember 1926. 1926 strike.
What was wrong?
Oh, terrible those days. Terrible. I was only a youngster, of course.
We're shutting the pits down in South Wales. There's nothing for the boys to do after they shut the pits down. They're making redundancy out of men of 60 years of age. There's nothing for them to do. If there was something for the people to do after they shut the pits down, and most of the factories they're closing down.
As regards unemployment, it's worse, isn't it?
What about all the young people?
They're on this too. Well, that is a problem, isn't it? Problem with these things. The youngsters today, I mean, there's nothing here for them, is there? Nothing at all.
Tell us about your work.
Well, we don't kick the Tory government out.
No, your work. Have you ever worked?
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about it.
With Taylor.
Tell us some more about it.
Oh, well, no. Got a job, like, with a firm, leasing Kirby's, served an apprenticeship with them for 3 months, and got the sack, because of boys, you know.
Line up in twos, please.
But didn't want them more like you. And I went on to, well, sort of, labouring a bit, and then I went back to roofing then, in the summer. And I've been unemployed, though, for 18 months.
The Labour Exchange offered you work or not?
No. No, they haven't.
I used to rent my land off the church, but now you own it, you've doubled my rent. I cannot afford it, sir.
Then get off it. That's why we raised the rents. We need that land for sheep, more profitable.
Sir, some of the peasants won't leave their cottages. They resist your taking of the common land, too.
Well, burn the cottages, throw them out. We need that land for profit.
And we need them with only their skins to sell.
Break up the guilds and the towns. We need workers for factories, not little craftsmen in shops.
Don't stand in our way, neither peasant nor king. We are the future, we must do this thing. Don't stand in our way.
(1972). Robert Carr, then Minister for Employment, addresses German industrialists. I hope that when Britain is in the common market, the fact that we have unused labour resources will be one of the reasons why the United Kingdom will be an attractive place for investment.
The closest time we've ever come to an internal revolution is when the miners were on strike and if this government had moved the troops in. I think this is the closest we've ever been to a revolution in this country for years, because they had, shall we say, the sympathy of the public, not so much from the TOC, I'm sorry to say. With public sympathy, it won't feed their bellies. Let's be honest about it. And they've got to have clothes, and they're not existing in anything, the children, them children, especially up in Tyneside, up in the north, where there's a hell of a big amount of unemployment. I think myself personally that the fathers and the sons have got to do something about it, and it's the last resort. There's got to be violence, I think. It's the way it's going.
Smash the system,
Change history? Civil war? No, no, no. This is England, lads. We have our own ways of airing out grievances. We negotiate round the table. Sell out round the table, lads. Oh. Excuse me, Ted. Where's the table gone?
I've had it removed.
Oh. Well, in that case, I'll sit on the floor. I'll kneel at your feet if you like. They've got a point, you know. Unemployment is unacceptably high. I think you're being very harsh. It's making my job very difficult.
Well, what do you expect me to do about it?
I need some leeway. Leeway! A nautical term, skipper. They're getting very hard to keep under control. It's a thankless task at 6,000 a year, and they don't appreciate it for it! Take the miners, please. No, seriously. Take the miners. A fine body of work people. But why couldn't they be sensible like Frank Chappell? Got nothing against the miners. Got some fine traditions. But we've got fine traditions at Congress House. We sold them out in 26, and we'll sell them out today.
And Vic Feather pledged his allegiance to the NUM before the strike came up, but when the strike came up, he backtracked, and he backtracked fastly.
They've got to be made to see reason. All I'm asking for is a gesture, Ted. Bit of reflation, few shillings. They're happy, I'm happy. Just as a favour, Ted. Ted, I've always been a faithful friend, Ted. Don't leave me alone. Don't put out your faithful pussycat, Ted. Don't take away my saucer of milk, Ted.
Let's be honest, if I've got children and they're growing up and I can see there's no benefit in this life, well, we've got to fight for something, haven't we? We've got to fight.
Where's he going? Ted? 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 I want to negotiate, Ted. Ted? Teddy?
When there's been redundancy or rundown of even a section of the railways, as it was from 14,000 down to the present just over 3,000, there was a job down the road for virtually everybody. Within a few weeks, everyone was fixed up, but it's not like that at all now. The young fellow that works with me went for an interview at Metal Box, one of the small companies on the trading estate, and it was just a job for maintenance fitter. And he was told that there were 160 applicants for that one job. And that's really the state of affairs in Swindon at present. The Right to Work campaign itself, as I said, embodies all of these fears and problems that are now coming up, but particularly in the railway works. I think the campaign itself is absolutely relevant, because anyone really who thinks about it, particularly any average worker, he knows that you can't really resolve this problem of unemployment without getting rid of this Tory government, because it's their policy. The type of people who try to tell workers or try to encourage workers to believe that you can resolve unemployment without getting rid of the Tories are quite often trade union leaders who don't want the type of confrontation with the employers and with the government which it requires to put up a fight. In other words, they try to find the old method of negotiation, avoidance of a confrontation if they can, and they don't want the problems involved in fighting redundancy. So they try to con workers about these sort of things, but workers aren't con in many ways. This is why the problems of leadership are very much in the forefront. A lot of workers don't trust a lot of the old trade union officials anyway. They just think they're talking twaddle. And if there appears to be any apathy at all amongst workers, it's because they're watching very closely the leadership and the type of people. If they have to go into battle, they're watching very closely those sort of people who are going to lead them. And this is really the whole question, for instance, the alternative leadership in the working class. I mean, what's come out up to date is that all the traditional types of leadership want to run. They just don't want this type of confrontation with the employers, and that's it.
Deal, the 27th of February. In Deal, Ramsgate and Margate, there are now 1,700 unemployed.
We demand the right to work. Take the Tories out. We demand the right to work. Take the Tories out. We demand the right to work. Take the Tories out. Unemployment! We demand the right to work! Take the Tories out! We demand the right to work! Take the Tories out! The Tories out! Don't you work! Hey!
I know just exactly where to be. You know what my freedom means to me, what it means to me. Just exactly what my freedom means to me.
Weather report for Friday the 3rd of March. Temperatures will be near normal in most areas, but slightly below normal in the west. Outlook for Saturday and Sunday, changeable with rain and showers at times. Temperatures a little below normal.
We demand the right to work! Take the Tories out! We demand the right to work! Take the Tories out!
One of the march leaders talks to his contingent. We're going to march to London, and all the way we're going to demand certain things. We're not the hunger marchers, and though obviously we bring back the memory of the hunger marchers, we're not begging a crust. We're demanding our rights. Stirred by their spirit, many people give food, shelter, clothing, and of course money, so that these young people can make their protest, so that by working together they can learn something of their own worth, these people for whom the system has no use.
The place to do it is if you get a sort, as you see it from me, then I'm prepared to work.
But you've got a job to do.
I say, old man! Got the best little wing in the house.
March the 3rd. The Liverpool marchers are now in Coventry. The Swansea column approaches Swindon. The Deal marchers near Rochester, and a new contingent gathers in Southampton. The march continues to show up people's conflicting political and social attitudes.
These marchers, in fact, have come all the way from Glasgow.
Have they really?
Walking, yes.
It's a long way, isn't it? Presumably they, in the present situation, they aren't able to get a job. Is that?
Right. Yes.
Is that the position?
That's it, yes. What's it like around here?
Basically, we have had a period where there's all redundancies throughout the rugby area and this sort of thing. And it's very, it's very, very difficult. I think most companies are, in the past year, with the severe pressure they've been under, in terms of cash flow and things like this, you just can't run a business and employ people if you've got no money to pay them. It's not so bad for older people, because a lot of older people, given their redundancy payment of after 20 years service, which is the death in itself, I think are tending to have a bit of a holiday.
Hello, little butterfly. Hello, little butterfly. Do you want to see God?
He wears a crucifix in a horseshoe, trying to get cover both ways. Jesus Christ might not approve, but these are troubled days. And don't you love that horseshoe man? You're no different that I can see. You say smile, things could be worse, and you call that your philosophy.
Rugby, March the 4th.
He's a Labour councillor. Where's Archie Ford, chairman of the Labour Party?
There he is, to your left.
Archie? Keith Bradford from Newcastle on Tyne, Archie Ford, chairman.
The town's Labour mayoress greets the marchers.
He's unemployed as well. He's 19.
Wherever there are industrial workers, the marchers are certain of support. At Bristol, 3,500 Rolls-Royce workers turn out to cheer the march.
Bloody good.
Men like this have first-hand experience of the government's economic policy. They have learned who their friends are and who are their enemies.
The right wing within the Trades Council, they tried to stop us getting a hall. And yet the miners came around us then and offered to put up every marcher and feed every marcher. And that was miners that had been out on strike for over 8 number of weeks, and they didn't have a penny to their name.
Here we go.
March the 6th, 5 days away from London. The window panes are set rattling in the suburbs of Oxford, home ground of the most conservative gentlefolk in England.
Obviously, I support the march because I think it's the only correct policy in the present situation for working towards a revolution in this country.
It's a society in which I cannot morally justify my existence if I partake of it. If I'm going to feed off other people just to survive, and that's not the system I want to be part of.
Are many people like that at Oxford? Do you find it
Yes.
much support?
Yes.
You see that march go by?
I gone down.
Yeah, we saw them. Yeah.
What do you think of it?
Well, all right. Everybody got a right to have a go, haven't they? Everybody.
Do you think they'll get anywhere?
Well, they don't do harm anyway, will they?
No. Well, I think that type of thing. What can I say? That type of thing, like, well, opens the public's eyes, doesn't it? You know. Yeah.
No, we were down there.
They gone by. Did you listen to them at all?
No, we didn't.
You didn't? These people, have you been listening to them?
Yes, sir.
Kiss goodbye to revolution. History will close your door. No one takes our place, not certain. We are here forevermore.
I believe the march was organised by the Young Socialists is possibly the most important step that has been taken by organised youth in Britain for a number of years. In fact, in my short period of time involved in trade union political work, I think it's the biggest step taken by any youth since the 1926 unemployment strikes. That I believe that marches of this nature must strike home to every nook and cranny, every village and every street in Britain. I know I live at Abingdon-on-Thames, a small town a few miles from here, that has one major industry, the MG car factory, and a few small industries on the outskirts, but I know even in that area, which is in the backwater of British industry, that it's even been discussed in there. Well, if it's going to go home to those small towns of that nature, it must be discussed in every major industry in Britain now. And the right to work is a justifiable demand, not a request, a demand by the working class of Britain. And if society cannot be geared to produce jobs for all its workers, and the society that has created this situation must be removed and replaced by a social society that will give the jobs to all its workers. On this I believe that the policy of the Young Socialists and their demands on the march by the removal of a Tory government and replacement of the Labour government placed to socialist policies is absolutely correct.
Smash the Tories. Return a Labour government dedicated to socialist policies.
Makes you prouder being on the march and being aware of what the SLL's all about and what this march is all about as a whole. And I would love to do more. Pick up, start to get the movement a bit stronger in Northern Ireland. No help comrades in Northern Ireland to pick up, get the movement powerful.
I want to go back to where I come from as a mining area. It's a radius of 15 mile, like. Also the pit I work in, there are 2,500 miners working it. And I know I've got tremendous support with these miners. And I want to be able to go back, start a socialist branch in the town, also in the radius districts.
I mean, I think that people, the youngsters that are on this march around us are the best bunch of people you could ever have. I think they really are comrades. They're real political leaders now. They'll be able to move into their own areas and build up the young socialists.
Once there was an English Revolution. It is not finished yet.
I will raise such men as have the fear of God before them, and make some conscience of what they do. And I warrant you they will not be beaten. And if your conscience will not let you do the like, I advise you not to enlist yourselves under me.
The truth is that most demonstrations are rehearsals for revolution. Not strategic or even tactical ones, but rehearsals of revolutionary awareness. The delay between the rehearsal and the real performance may be very long, but any demonstration which lacks this element of rehearsal is better described as an officially encouraged public spectacle. Monday, the 13th of March.
The meeting with Mr. Fishwell has got is full. Yes. So I'm coming with.
We quickly found out that these people were not prepared to give straight answers. Sidney Bidwell, who organised the meeting, the MP for Southall, said, "What have you learned? I hope you've learned something from this meeting." And this lad's reply was, "Yes, we have learned something. We've come through this country and we've learned that the working class are prepared to fight. And at this meeting, we've learned that the leadership is not prepared to fight." Okay.